Hello, welcome to the Grow Your Wealthy Mindset podcast, where it is all about helping amazing physicians just like you create a wealthy life free from burnout and with the financial security to practice medicine on your own terms. I'm your host, Dr. Elisa Chiang. Hello, and welcome back to the Grow Your Wealthy Mindset podcast. People talk a lot about 401k and 403b retirement plans, but you or your spouse may have a 401a retirement plan. In today's episode, I'm going to highlight the 401a retirement plan, which is another type of employer-sponsored retirement plan, generally for employees of government agencies, educational institutions, and nonprofit organizations. If you've ever wondered why retirement plans are named the way they are, it's because they're actually named after the tax code which established the plan. The 16th Amendment was ratified in 1913, giving Congress the power to levy income taxes. It's funny, there's a saying now where nothing's guaranteed except death and taxes. And yet, before 1913, we didn't actually have federal income taxes. The Revenue Act of 1913 created the modern federal income tax system. Then, the Internal Revenue Code of 1954 reorganized and put codes into existing tax laws. 401a plans were established with the original tax code in 1954. 403b plans were established 4 years later under the Technical Amendments Act of 1958. The 403b plan originally was designed for annuities and was initially called the Tax Shelter Annuity Plan. Mutual funds were added to the investment options for 403b plans with the passage of the Employee Retirement Income Security Act, abbreviated ERISA, in 1974. ERISA also created the IRA, or Individual Retirement Account Plan. 401ks were created with the passage of the Revenue Act of 1978 and went into effect on January 1st, 1980. That's right, 401ks have really only been around for 45 years, which, in the grand scheme of things, is actually not that long. 401a and 401k both fall under the 401 tax code, whereas 403b is in a different section of the tax code. Let's look a little bit more at the 401a and how it differs from the 401k and 403b plans. Employers can form multiple 401a plans that each have their own distinct eligibility criteria, contribution amounts, and vesting schedules. 401a plans can have mandatory or voluntary contributions. With the 401a, employers can make it mandatory for their employees to participate. If it is mandatory for an employee to contribute to their 401a, then the employer must also contribute to their employees' accounts. 403b plans can also have mandatory employee contributions, whereas 401k plans generally do not have mandatory employee contributions. It's possible that you may have a union where in the union's contract, it does stipulate that employees will contribute to a 401k, but this is generally not part of the 401k plan itself. With 401a plans, the employer contributes funds to the plan to the benefit of the employee. The employer may contribute a set amount, matching a fixed percentage of the employee contributions, or matching employee contributions up to a specific dollar amount. The employer contributions become vested on a vesting schedule set by the employer and are often linked to the years of service as a way to incentivize employees to stay at their job. The employer decides if contributions are made on a pre-tax or after-tax basis. Pre-tax would be like a traditional retirement account, and after-tax would be the Roth version. Employers have significant control over the structure of their 401a plans. This includes contribution rates, as well as contribution amounts, and investment options. Investments available in 401a plans may be more conservative. A 401a plan does not have the same investment limits as a 401k plan, which currently limits employee contributions to $23,500 a year for 2025. Most 401a plans cap voluntary contributions to 25% of the employee's take-home pay. The federal government currently caps the total contributions coming from the combination of the employee and the employer to a 401a plan at $70,000 for 2025. This is the same limit for the 403B and 401k for employees that are under the age of 50. A difference to note for older individuals is that unlike 401ks and 403bs, which offer a catch-up provision for those over age 50, there is no catch-up provision for the 401a plan. Another difference between the 401a and 401k plans is that a 401a plan can limit participation to those with 2 years of service, while a 401k plan can only require 1 year of service for any eligible employee who is at least age 21. It's possible that a single employer offers both a 403b plan and a 401a plan to its employees. In this case, you can contribute up to the annual maximum contribution limit for each plan. If your employer does offer both, and you aren't able to max out contributing to both plans, then what's the thought process of deciding where to contribute? A 403b plan may potentially offer more flexibility since you can change your contributions with each paycheck and even opt out of participating at all depending on your financial situation, assuming that your employer doesn't have mandatory contributions required for the 403b plan. You'll want to look at the rules set up for the 401a with your employer because there may be mandatory contributions that once you start, you can't adjust. You'll also want to compare your employer match for each plan. There are some employers who actually do make it mandatory for their employees to participate in the 401a plan, so that is also something you'll want to find out. The 401a plan has a much higher possible contribution limit depending on how it was set up by your employer. If you want to maximize your retirement savings to be able to contribute more than the annual maximum allowed for a 403b plan, then you may want to consider the 401a plan. If you have multiple jobs or you switch jobs during the year, you can also max out a 401a plan with one employer and a 403b plan with another employer. You can also max out a 401a plan with one employer and a 401k plan with another employer. This is not true between the 401k plan and the 403b plan. That's also a very important difference with 401a plans. So just to be clear, if you're at a job that has a 401a and you make, let's just say $20,000 of contributions, then you leave that job and you go to an employer that offers you a 403b plan, then you can actually still contribute the $23,500 maximum to the 403b plan with your new employer because the 401a and the 403b are separate. However, if you contributed to an employer's 403b plan, let's say you contributed the same $20,000, but then you left and went to another employer that has either a 403b plan or a 401k plan, then if you've already contributed $20,000 to your first employer's 403b plan, then you can only contribute $3,500 if you're under the age of 50 to your new employer's 403b or 401k plan. So the 401a employee contribution is separate than for the 403b and the 401k. The IRS treats 401k and 403b plans as a single deferral limit when it comes to employee elective deferrals. What that means is essentially the IRS clumps contributions to a 403b and a 401k together, as if they were the same type of account. For 2025, the elective deferral limit, meaning employee contributions across both accounts, is $23,500 if you're under age 50 or $31,000 if you're 50 or older with the catch-up contribution. However, if you do switch jobs, your new employer can contribute to your 403b or 401k on your behalf. The total contribution limit of the employee plus the employer is $70,000 for 2025 for those under 50 and $77,500 for those age 50 or older. This means that if your first employer contributed less than the total limit, your second employer can contribute more. This is likely the case since few employers are generous enough to contribute substantially to their employee accounts, other than the case where you are both the employer and the employee. 401A plans have separate deferral limits to 401k and 403b plans, which allows you to maximize contributions to both a 401A plan and a 401k or 403b plan. Again, the maximum contribution is $70,000 for each plan for those under age 50. Let's go through an example where your employer offers both a 401A and a 403b plan, and you want to maximize contributions to both plans. Let's say your 401A plan requires a mandatory 10% contribution, and your employer also puts in a 10% contribution. If your income is $300,000, this means that you contribute $30,000 and your employer contributes $30,000 for a total of $60,000 into your 401A. This is under the $70,000 max contribution. You also have a 403b plan and elect to contribute the max of $23,500. Your employer also contributes $10,000 to your 403b plan for a total contribution of $33,500 to the 403b. This is also under the $70,000 limit for your 403b plan. Your total contributions to your 401a and your 403b is $53,500, and your employer's total contributions to these two accounts is $40,000. This means that you now have a total of $92,500 in your retirement accounts for 2025. Because the 401a and 403b plan are separate in the eyes of the IRS, you can have up to $70,000 contributed to each account. Elective deferrals to the 403b plan do not count towards the $70,000 cap for the 401a. And this way, it's possible to significantly save more for your retirement in tax advantage accounts. It's not that common for employers to offer both a 401a and 403b plan, but it does happen at some large academic medical centers and government-affiliated hospitals. The University of California Health Center has the UC Retirement Plan 401a and a 403b. University of Texas Health System offers TRS 401a and a 403b. Denver Health is a public hospital with a 401a pension plan and a 403b option. Depending on your spouse's choice of career, this may pertain to them as well. Public school teachers may have both a 401a and 403b plan. In fact, my husband's school system where he works allows him to have a 401a, a 403b, and a 457 plan. This can add up for some hefty retirement contributions. The 403b plan and the 457 plan allows you to contribute $23,500 for those under age 50, for a total of $47,000 to both plans. If you are age 50 or older, you can also make catch-up contributions of $7,500 to each plan, for a total of $54,500 in a year. The 457 plan also allows for double contribution if you are within 3 years of the plan's retirement age, for a max contribution of $47,000 into the 457 plan. You can't contribute the catch-up $7,500 if you contribute double the maximum. However, that means if your employer offers a 401a, 403b, and 457 plan, and you're within 3 years of your plan's retirement age, then you can contribute as an employee $78,000 to your 403b and your 457 plan, as well as contribute to your 401a plan according to how your employer has that 401a plan set up. If you start contributing towards retirement later in life, the ability to make these large contributions may actually help you catch up. Retirement accounts are great tools to help people invest for their retirement. Some people will call these plans money jail, which in some ways is true. They lock up your money until you're age 59 and a half to help you put away for the future. It can be human temptation to dip into funds earmarked for the future and spend them in the present. Sometimes there are good reasons to do this. And if that's the case, there are provisions that allow money to be withdrawn penalty-free from retirement accounts under specific circumstances. It's also possible to borrow from retirement accounts if you need those funds. If you absolutely need that money for a reason that does not avoid the 10% early withdrawal penalty, sometimes the answer is just to pay that penalty. Unless you plan to heavily invest in real estate, it makes sense to max out retirement accounts available to you if you are able to do so. And hopefully, if you're not able to do so now, you will be able to in the near future. If you would like help figuring out your financial plan for retirement, whether you're aiming for early retirement or you started saving a bit late, then I encourage you to book a consult with me. We can review your situation and discuss some of your options. Schedule that consult at www.growyourwealthymindset.com. I'd love to talk to you. Thank you so much for being a listener of the Grow Your Wealthy Mindset podcast, and I'll be back next week with another episode. Until then, take care. And if you love this podcast, I would love it if you would give it a 5-star review. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you could share it with your friends and colleagues. And now for the disclaimer. I am not a certified financial planner, accountant, or attorney, and nothing I say should be construed as professional investment, tax, or legal advice. This show is primarily for your education and entertainment. I am a physician, but I'm probably not your physician, so if you need any medical advice, please contact your own physician. Thank you.